Hello and welcome to the regular Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we'll be talking about post-match Spurs versus Leicester and the current situation at our football club regarding all the things that are not going right at the moment. Everything seems to be going wrong and we seem to be on a downward spiral. So without further ado, I'll introduce my two fellow admins. Ian, how are you? Back from your holes, how are you?
Yeah, jet lagged. But so if I fall asleep when I'm talking, it's nothing personal. I'm not boring myself. It's
okay.
Just so I was in the middle of typing to Jose because Jose said he can come on as well. So if we want to get Jose on to make up a fourth.
Yeah, you get Jose on. And fellow admin Tom, how are you?
I'll get the link. I'll get the link to Jose, and you can get him on just in case I do fall asleep. But today's adrenaline got me going for a bit. But then, not a good scene. It's not a good scene at this club at all. So, but no doubt we will talk about where we're going.
Yeah. So, Tom, fellow admin Tom, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, well, been better with the result, but all good otherwise.
I was at the game, so I had the double pain of being at the game and then hosting the show, and it seems to be a regular thing here. We're hosting losses all the time, which you have to take a deep breath. So thanks to my fellow admins for being here, and for those in the chat for braving it with us. Yeah. So this is we are. It's post-match Spurs. We'll go through the team. Like with starting lineups, it looks okay. I'll ask the guys what they think. But we never know with fitness and whether these players are gassed or not when we put a team out. I don't know what to think. Ian, what about you?
Yeah, it was pretty widely trailed, that team. The problem is there's players there that need resting, but you haven't got any players to come in. Yeah, he could have started with Moore and given Son a rest. Although I thought Son did well for the hour that he played. On the left side. I thought he played really well. You've got a situation where Sarr, something you may want to come on to after. Sarr apparently had a knock and shouldn't have played. Maddison knock, if that's actually the case, because you do start to wonder if there's rows going on behind the scene. Bissouma not fit. So even the players that haven't been over pushed are now getting injuries, or are saying they're not getting injuries and what have you. So it's pretty well all he could have done, I think, to start. I think it was maybe some of the in-game changes left a little bit to be desired. Good evening, Nita, by the way, and good evening, Graham.
Tom, your take on the starting lineup?
Nothing that in there that surprises. Hearing off, obviously the biggest shock was Maddison. Have we even heard anything about Maddison? Why he wasn't in the squad at all? Injured, dropped?
Nothing was mentioned, so
which is bizarre, considering he got a knock. Unless he's got a knock. I just feel like if he had got a knock, they would have said something. Like normally, Ange will say before the game, So it does make you wonder if Maddison has said something. And
I didn't hear. And another thing, Tom, because there's a good point you raised. Why didn't one of the guys in the press ask him that question?
Yeah. No one's it's really bizarre why, unless we have completely missed something, but I have not seen any reason as to why Maddison wasn't in the match day squad, especially after, actually he had one of his better games in the first half against Hoffenheim. And that's really bizarre. And it does make you wonder if he said something at board level as intervened.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ian, your take on Maddison. He scored a great goal against Hoffenheim.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be out of favour, would he? I doubt if he was out of favour after playing. He played well in that game. Him and Bentancur was superb, I thought.
I don't know. I think there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'm not sure it's all good. he scored. Yeah, he scored a cracking goal. Played well. Came off. He played almost the full 90 minutes. Didn't look like he was struggling. So I just wonder if there's stuff going on. There's rows going on behind the scenes. Maybe they're coming back, from Germany on Thursday, into Friday morning, and he's got them there. I've just added Jose's coming on, and he's got them in working really hard again, and there's stuff going on. Things are you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I thought a lot of the whole stuff was odd. Second time he's not filled the bench, and apparently the under-21s were playing at the same time. So why has he not filled the bench? What's happened to the young Korean boy who made the bench? He wasn't on the bench today. There's something not quite right. Whether it will come out in the wash, I don't know. I get the impression things are very tense at the moment.
And so they should be.
Ange seemed to be saying, first of all, well, I don't know whether I'll be here or not. He said 2 weeks ago that we need help for Dom, and someone's, we expect something to be happening very quickly. Today he said there's nothing immediate. There's something not right. And then, of course, you were there. That's the loudest by a distance I've heard. We want Levy out. That's by some distance the loudest I've heard it.
Yeah, there were no pops at Ange, though. Not one. Right, there was none of that there.
Yeah.
Right, well, welcome, Jose, good friend of the show, and we're a good friend of his show. Jose, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm all right.
We've just started. You're just going for the team up. What did you think of the lineup when you saw it?
It's, whether I think or don't think, it really is immaterial. I saw that Porro was in the lineup again. I saw Kulusevski was in the lineup again, and I thought to myself, why can't you just take these two players out of the team?
Yeah.
For the love of God, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks. Today, we could have started with Grant right back. We could have started with Reggie on at left back. Porro could have been on the subs bench. We could have put Mikey Moore in instead of Kulusevski. There was changes we could have made today, right? And we didn't do it. And the changes that we did make, the two players that are the most fatigued players in this lineup, again played 90 minutes. And it's no coincidence whatsoever that both goals were down to Pedro Porro. And they attacked us. Throughout the whole second half, they attacked our right-hand side. And that is the blueprint. Anyone out there who's got half a brain will turn around and say, these two players are on fumes. All you got to do is attack them. Just keep attacking them. They've probably got a really lung-busting energy for about 20 minutes. And then they're gone. They have to go because they played every single game. So, and then when I saw that Maddison weren't playing, the conspiracy theory started. But then it soon became apparent that he'd taken a knock or something, and Sarr was in the game. Now, out on screen, are you the only one that went to the game today, Adrian?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Did Sarr play today? Because I was so far away, I wasn't sure whether Sarr played again or not.
Yes, Sarr put himself about again. He was a surprise in the lineup to me because I expected Maddison to start. Spence to start because I wasn't sure about it, because that I thought you'd be giving Gray a rest, right? And you'd be giving Porro a rest.
Spence was injured, Adrian, but all week you were saying that you're not putting Spence in there. And I thought to myself,
it's still a knock to me. So I thought some players have to play in this situation, like with a knock. So then you wouldn't give them a rest. But we'll move on quickly to because this is the thing. After we do the subs in and go through the chat, right?
Yeah, okay.
Ignore you chat. If you've got questions in the chat, just ask them. We'll get to them. Yeah. So substitutes. Start with you, Tom. Only 8 on the bench. No Maddison. There's room for one more, but I mean, if the under 21
was there.
Yeah, I mean, we are complete bare bones at the moment, but like, I do agree with Jose. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we are in dire straits at the moment, but like I said, Andrew would almost get the fans more on side if he actually put some of these youngsters in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's not like in the day we're losing games anyway. So what I've always been a proponent of you shouldn't rush youngsters into the team because you could kill their career before it's even started. However, we are in a needs must situation at the moment, and actually what we're doing is we are killing our current players by playing them and flogging them when they're clearly not fit. Like, this is what I was saying sort of in the back room, like with Porro. He's frustrating the life out of me at the moment, but I'm also in the back of my mind, like, he is knackered. He's played every single minute of every single game that we've had this season. Like, and you saw all of Porro today. You saw his brilliant best with a fantastic cross for Richarlison for that goal. And then you saw his absolute worst in the laziest pass I've ever seen, 5 yards to Bentancur, which results in the second goal. And then you also see his other worst, where he's in the box in the 65th minute with a simple cross, ball along the floor, across the 6-yard box, which would result in a goal because there's 2 players there ready to put it in. And he decides to shoot. It's infuriating. And Porro is doing my head in at the moment, but he's knackered.
Tom, well, I wondered if that was, I mean, not that you never see players do it, but I would genuinely wonder if that was a tired mind making a poor football decision.
100%. 100%. And the thing is, Jed Spence having a knock is but what is really annoying me at the moment, we're hearing all these weird phrases coming out now in press conference. Oh, he's a bit sore. Oh, he's got a knock. Oh, he's a bit sore. But James Maddison is sore, and so is Sarr. But Sarr can play, but Maddison can't. Jed has a knock, but Archie Gray has a knock. But Archie Gray can play, but I don't understand it. Like,
no.
What are we now? Is Ange being told to use code because the board are suddenly panicking about this existential injury crisis, and they don't want the fans and the media to jump on their back about the fact that all these players keep getting injured. So now he's got to say that they're sore or they've got a knock. But for one player, a sore means he misses the game. For another player, it means he's fine to go. It's blowing. I just don't understand. Like, I know, like what Jose was proposing with Gray at right back and Reguilon left, but why Reguilon didn't play, I have absolutely no idea why he didn't play. That is fully on Ange, if you ask me, that he didn't play him. Obviously, he doesn't want him and he's having to use him. I can understand that, but use him if you've got to use him, and you have to use him. Like, there's no reason for Sarr to play today. Like I said in the back room again, if Ola Cisse played, I would have been fine with that.
The thing is, Tom, as well, is probably Jose will want to come in, but he has to play Porro on Thursday night because Reguilon's not registered, as far as I can remember, and nor is Spence. So
why play him today?
Sense to say I'll leave you out today, but because I need to play you on Thursday. The only thing I will say though in Ange's defence is that if your job is on the line, and it clearly is now, that you are going to play what you think are the best players to fight for your job.
I do 100% agree with that. I do think if we weren't in 15th place and things looking ropey, I do think he would be trusting these youngsters a bit more, and he would be rotating a bit more. But I think it is like he is. But it's been proven over the last 2 months that these players aren't winning games. They're just not winning games. And for every game that you keep playing and they're getting more tired and we're still losing, like, why not take the hit? Like, why not against Brentford next week if we haven't brought any more players in, which we should have more players by next weekend, but we won't. We'll wait until the last day. And even then, I'm not convinced we'll get anyone in. Then just go, right, Brentford, stuff it. Let's put our under-21s out and let's just get some rest in. We're ready to go then for Liverpool in the cup game, and then we can get some, rest into our players. But I don't know. It's frustrating. I think there's so many wrongs from all different levels, but unfortunately, as the saying goes, the fish rots at the head, and the head of Tottenham Hotspur is very rotten.
Yeah, we'll come to that later after we've done the game. Jose, your take on the subs? Any of these you think should have started?
A bit. Tom's exactly on the same page as me, right? And I think, to be honest, right, I think Ian and you are as well, Adrian. Today was an opportunity, and don't get me wrong, there's still an opportunity on Thursday because it's only Arsenal, right? If he played Ajayi today, if he played Oluwasi today, if he played Lancashire today, if he played Moore today, and even if he played Reguilon today, no one would bat an eyelid. No one would bat an eyelid because people are understanding that we are down to the bare bones and we are on fumes, right? And today was the opportunity to do that. The one thing that these kids would give you, hopefully, they ain't going to have the nous that one of the pros have got and stuff like that because they haven't had enough game time. But the one thing they're going to give you is they're going to give you what we lack big time, and that's energy. We've got an energyless team. Our team have nothing. They're on fumes, and therefore today would have been an opportunity to play some of these youngins. I mean, and give them a run out. You know, and at the end of the day, if we ended up losing 2-1 today with the young'uns playing, do you know what? The backlash wouldn't be as deep and as grave as what it is now that we put our first team out there again today. For show, for games. Yeah. So do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I mean, to be honest, guys, right, we're through to the next round. I don't want to play the extra 2 games. I'll make that straight now. I don't want to play the extra 2 games. We are through to the next round, right? Against Elfsborg on Thursday. For the love of God, give these bloody players a bloody rest. I don't care if Porro don't play on Thursday. I don't care if we're short of a right back and a left back or whatever we're short of. Put one of the young ones there. Just get 1, 2 of the young ones in there. Let's give these players a chance. If we don't give these players a chance, then, mate, us going forward, we ain't got a chance. Now, I did say that for me, my opinion is that this year has been a year like no other because it's the first year that the European leagues go deep into January. Because it used to be group stages, used to be done, 6 games used to be done by the beginning of December. Teams then knew whether they dropped into the Conference League, they dropped into the Europa League, or they were out completely. This time round, by Thursday evening, we will know that the 12 teams that haven't made Champions League, 12 teams that haven't made Europa, and if it's 12 teams as well that haven't made the conference. So therefore, by Thursday evening, some clubs will reassess their situation, and some may get rid of be, you know, in the process that they're going to be able to release players, so to speak, and so therefore you can go and buy their players. There are some good teams in the Champions League that ain't going to make that final 24. There are some good teams still left there that won't make the final 24.
I'll bring that Europa League table up in a minute.
Being one of them.
And then in the end, you know, you can then, you know, get your reinforcements. But what I don't like at the moment, and like Tom says, something's going on, and there is. I've said for a while there's stuff going on that we don't know about because you can't turn around on the one hand, right, and public can come out and say we're backing the manager, which they said back in December. We're backing the manager, and then to sit here on the 26th of bloody January, and we've got another defeat to deal with, and still we're not champions of the world, and still we haven't brought anybody in to help out. Now, by the time they make a decision, if they choose to on Ange, there ain't going to be time to bring players in. So you know, at the end of the day, it's just it's an embarrassment, to be honest. That's all I can say. And as fans, we all feel it, and you know, as fans, everyone's entitled to have an opinion and feel the way that they feel. But you know, I can understand why some people are this way, that way, because everyone's really frustrated with what's going on.
Right. On the substitutes, I'll just bring them up and you can carry on the chat afterwards. I mean, for those that don't know, watching on playback, I mean, Will Lancashire as a striker, he got 23 goals in 22 league games and under 20 last season. He got over 30 goals in all competitions. He's about the closest thing in style to Harry Kane. I'm not going to compare him with Harry Kane, obviously. Ajayi, well, he's got a long first name. I think they just call him Adama Ajayi. He's a striker. We all know Reguilon's a left back. Yang Min Hook, he's a left wing, right winger. Brandon Austin was under 21 goalkeeper. Recently be given another 5 or 6 year contract because he's homegrown. We know about Basuma. Mikey Moore, to me, I've never eulogised so much about a young player in all my life. I just think he's going to such a generation thing. And Callum Alusasi, he's a very talented midfielder, very talented on the ball. tricky. You know, so I'd class him as a cam. I don't do number 6s, number 8s, and number 10. That's these modern Ponzi descriptive narratives. They're not for me, right? I do like midfielders, holding midfielders, attacking midfielders. That's me, right? So that's that on the subs. Anyone in the chat, Ian, that we got to say?
Oh, there's loads. There's loads.
Do them.
I
Do them
actually
all.
put up a question.
Go on,
It might
do
be
them all.
one you want to discuss later. But
Discuss it
I
now.
thought that from Phil, evening Phil, that question: if we do we really think if we go deep into a relegation dogfight,
Well, we can do that now.
these players would be up for this fight with this manager at the helm when you take it into account his way of playing. But then he says, and I mean, I think there's more chance of me being the manager than Harry Redknapp. But that's his answer.
No.
Short termers again, but let's deal with that question.
We'll do it. Who wants to go first,
We've
Julian?
never been scrappers, have we? Tottenham Hotspur have rarely had players or many players that were real scrappers. We've always liked those neat players on the ball, silky skills. The effective ones, brilliant. But sometimes we've had players, and I think Maddison is one, to be honest with you, that flatters to deceive far too often. But whether, the Poros, will Romero get his hands dirty? Goalkeeper is still very young. Sarr, young. Solanke, not going to see him till March. And these players really going to dig this manager out of a hole? I'm not sure. I think we're in relegation trouble.
I don't actually, but that's only my opinion for what it's worth. You know what I mean? But
I think we've got the quality to not get dragged into a relegation dogfight, and we just need that quality to come back. The issue is going to be if that quality comes back and more get injured. That would
the only doubt I've got, Tom, is when you're dropping points and you're dropping down the league, you can have a quality squad, but when you get into a rut, it can be very hard to get out of that rut, even if you've got a quality squad. But I see Spurs going down. He probably did as well in the 77 season, right? That squad was crap. Apart from Perriman and Odell, before we brought the two Argentinians in, and later got Archibald and Crooks in 1980, right? That was a poor team with some good players in, but it was a poor team. This team, the squad we got now, I mean, squads are bigger now. I mean, the quality levels are different. The football's different. I mean, players are running 10 kilometres more an hour a game than they did back in the day and things like that. So there's just too much quality. You know, eight points above the bottom one with their goals. It's virtually 9, their goal difference.
Yeah.
You know.
We do have to be careful saying we've got too much quality, because there was another team that had too much quality to get relegated, and their name is Leeds United.
And Nottingham Forest were the same under Clough when they went down.
So I mean, obviously, like, times have changed slightly, but history does repeat itself, and we've seen that numerous times. We do have too much quality to not get relegated. I mean, I can't believe I'm in a stream talking about Tottenham Hotspur and we're talking about we've got too much quality to get relegated. That's just embarrassing in itself.
There is no such thing as too good to go down.
True.
No such thing.
I mean, no such thing as too good to go down. And also, remember when people said Leicester weren't good enough to win the league, and they won the league. So stranger things have happened than us getting relegated. I just all last year and the year before, I've been taking the mick out of Everton, saying, "Oh, you're going to be playing in the Championship in your new stadium," and that could be us. But I don't think we're going to get dragged into a relegation fight. I think 2 more wins, we probably are absolutely fine. The thing for me is, people at the beginning of the season have these hypothetical discussions. Oh, would you take finishing 17th and winning a cup? And everyone's like, yeah, I would. Well,
I know where you're going with this.
look what's happening now. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is terrible. And it's like, well, careful what you bloody hypothetically wish for, is what I say. And I just, for me, I'm just looking at the table from like the last few years. And so last year, for 27 points would have kept you up last year. We're on 24. Right. So obviously last year we are looking at Luton Town, Burnley and Sheffield United, which I would say argue that maybe the quality is slightly better this year in the teams minus Southampton. But 27 points would have been, it always used to be 40 is the magical number, but that's not the case anymore. Like 30 to low 30s is the magical case, and we'll easily pick up that amount of points. I have no doubt about that once we get our players back. But even if when we get our players back, we still need extra quality players. Now, that quality player doesn't have to be a 27-year-old in his prime. There are plenty. If the club, and this is the one thing that irritates me about the club, if the club want to go down this young player mantra so that in 2-3 years' time we're right up there, then tell us that. Tell us that's what you're doing, and say, look, over the next few transfer windows, the sort of players that we're going to be aiming for are the best under 23-year-olds around, so that in a few years' time, we're going to be ahead of the game and we've got the best players around, so that in 2026, 2027, whenever it is, it's going to think, in the meantime, you're going to have to just grit your teeth, get behind the players. Like, tell us that's what you're doing and then go and do it. But there is no communication over the transfer plan or the idea around the squad or anything like that. It's all just absolute waffle and horseshit all the time. The one thing where I do feel sorry for Ange, and this is different in other countries, in Italy, it's quite well done, but Ange is the only person being asked questions by the media from the club. And yet he's not the final be-all and end-all of transfers and stuff like that. In Italy, their sporting directors regularly do press conferences to answer those sort of questions. Yet in the Premier League in England, all the board directors, everyone like that, they just hide behind the manager, behind the coach. And I have to say coach now, because there's barely any managers actually in Premier League teams. They're all coaches. It's irritating, and irrespective of if and when we get players back, we needed 3 or 4 at the end of the summer window. We need 3 or 4 now, because if we get these players back and then the players that have been running their asses into the ground for the last 3 weeks or 3 months that have had to play every game suddenly get injured, which wouldn't surprise me, and we're right back where we were anyway. Okay, we will have Romero and Van der Ven back, but then Porro and whoever and Kulusevski will be injured. Great. Like, it's just irritating. But if we do get dragged into a relegation dogfight, I also don't think the fans have got the stomach for it, let alone the blooming players.
I've been there. I was there, and so was Ian, following the team in the second division. Right, Jose, Tom makes some good points there. Ange talks about we'll get a couple of players back, but we're only going to get VDV and Romero back, in the next couple of weeks. And talking about getting more players, we've got 5 days in January, 3 in February, got 8 days left in this transfer window. This club has got to get its arse into gear this week. And I think it's going to be a busy week for a lot of clubs. And I think most of the deals will be loan deals or loan to buy.
But from what Tom was saying, up until today, I thought it was a load of crap, people saying that we're in a relegation dogfight, because people have been saying this for a couple of weeks. And I personally, I've got my own opinion, I thought it was a load of crap. After today's game, I'm not naive now no more. I firmly believe that we are in a relegation dogfight. If I look at the last 6 games in the Premiership, and I'll start from Tottenham. Tottenham have picked up 1 point in the last 6 games. Everton, who are below us with a game in hand by 1 point, they've picked up 7 points in the last 6 games. Leicester City, who are even further back, have picked up their first victory in 8 games today. So in the last 6 games, they have 3 points. Wolverhampton Wanderers have picked up 4 points in the last 6 games. Ipswich Town have picked up 4 points in the last 6 games. And only Southampton are worse than us. Southampton have picked up 0 in the last 6. With that kind of form, with 15 games to go in the Premiership, it would be a fag paper, and I'm talking a fag paper. If the points get picked up at that rate for the next 15 games, it's fag paper between Ipswich, Wolves, Leicester, and Tottenham for two places. The team that would get out of this would be Everton. Everton would be above us and get out of it. So to me, the table doesn't lie. It tells you where you should be and where you deserve to be after 38 games. And at the moment, we're looking at 23. We deserve to be 15th, and that's where we are. And we desperately need bodies, right? If you're not going to use and rotate with some of the youngsters and rest some of our players, then we need bodies. Now, whether it's returning injured soldiers or whether it's soldiers from other shores that we go and get, we just need to bulk up, because otherwise we're sleepwalking. And we have been sleepwalking for a while. I mean, I hear a lot of people say, yeah, but someone else has got so many injuries and they managed to win games. If you look at it and people get their heads out of the sand and be honest to each other, the teams that have played the most games this season since the start of the season are Tottenham Hotspurs and Liverpool. Play the same amount of games because they're in the same amount of cups.
Yeah. And I just want to interrupt there, Jose, because when people start conflating other clubs with us, they got the same injuries, that they're better than us. Okay, fine. But then you can't, there's so many variables. Where are your injuries and what positions? We've lost our two main centre-backs, the number one goalkeeper. And also, to add to that, you had the situation where we played 7 Europa League games, 4 League Cup games, that's 11. So all the teams that got knocked out the first round of the League Cup, who are not in Europe, have played 10 games less than us. So whether they've had injuries or not, they've had long rest periods. They're playing once a week, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to.
So when I will push back just on stats alone that we've played 10 games more than most teams, right? And that does have an effect when you want to rest players and things like that.
And to add to that, Adrian, we're playing more games this year than we did last year with a smaller squad. Like, we cut 30 million off the wage bill in the summer.
So I'm not picking on one team now, Adrian. No. I'm picking on everybody now, just by saying that I like it's good. People throw facts around and facts to suit their arguments. I don't have to throw that up on the screen. I just know that Liverpool and Tottenham are in 4 competitions, all 4 of them, both the teams. So they're the teams that have played the most games this season thus far. Now, you've got teams that, everyone's got injuries, don't get me wrong, but people are not playing as many games. Or people haven't played as many games as we've played. So people need to take that into consideration.
Ian, I want to come to you, and I'm going to put this league table up. Because as you can say, we got 14 points. Even the team at 14th, we got better goal difference than AZ Alkmaar and the others.
Yeah.
Be cool. We're through the next round of the Europa League. And the reason I'm bringing this up, as we're through, to all you, that we're through to the next round, whether we have to play a 2-legged playoff game or what, if we were to lose against Elfsborg, God help us.
We can't afford to play another 2 games in February.
Right. So do you think then Ange will know that and therefore throw the kids in against Elfsborg, because the next game before we play Liverpool is Brentford away, right?
Yeah.
So does Ange play youngsters against Elfsborg at home on Thursday? I'll be there. But
I'll probably be there as well.
Yeah. So I mean, he gets a bit of. I think he gets a bit more. I mean, I'm starting Mikey Moore. I'd start him in the first. I've got no qualms about starting Mikey Moore in any game, to be honest with you. He's the only one of the youngsters I've got no qualms about. So, but do you think he'll go? He'll have Brentford in mind or not bother?
Try and put yourself in Ange's position. He at the moment is 1 game away from the sack. Ange may not even be the manager on Thursday. I mean, if I come up and say my phone has just flashed, Ange has been fired, who's going to be shocked? The certain issue that he's got is who he plays. When you say play the youngsters, well, Kinski can't play, so he has to play Austin. So that's taking care of that. He can't play Spence or Reguilon on Thursday. So that leaves him having to play Porro again, probably having to start with Gray again, and Dragusin and Davis. unless Romero's fit, and that means he can.
Well, they're
come
training. Both of them are in training.
Yeah, I said, but they're only starting full training tomorrow. So, it might be a perfect run out.
It would be a good run out for them coming back from injury to play them against Elfsberg, because in theory you'd think less pressure. You never know.
I mean, who you could say. I mean, is Richarlison in the squad?
Yeah.
I mean, we maybe talk about the substitution. I think he's got to change something on the right hand side. I'm not quite sure who.
Yeah, I'll give you my angle on this. I'm not so much talking about at the back, or in midfield, because we can be pretty solid, even though these players are gassed. But up front, where you can afford to make a mistake, you could play more on Lancashire, because if it doesn't work in the first half, you can bring them off and if Richarlison's got a slight tweak on his groin, right? He's made of glass, isn't he, right? And that's what he said he took him off for. Then don't start him. Start more on Lancashire, because if it doesn't work, you then bring someone else on, right? You've got a J in there and that. So, and the under-21s won't be playing. So, whoever he decides to do, but you can take more risks up front than you can in midfield and defence usually,
But this is the negligence, isn't it, of the board and Levy?
Oh yeah,
we know
we'll come to that.
You could sign. Well, I appreciate that, but this is where I think it's important. We knew in August that there were areas that we needed to strengthen. We needed to strengthen the left side of the defence. In particular, we needed to strengthen at left back. We knew we needed another combative midfield player, and we knew we needed at least one player further forward. And none of them have come in. We've now got to, what are we, 10 days? We're not 10 days, are we?
8.
How many days from the end of the transfer?
It's 3rd of February at 11 o'clock in the evening.
What is that?
8 days. 8 days.
Tomorrow week.
And we've done nothing. Now, the bottom line is those players should have been brought in. We should have brought in another goalkeeper, great. But we needed to have brought in my view, 3/4 outfield players. We know they couldn't have played on Thursday because they can't be registered for Thursday. So,
but they could have played today.
Sorry,
they could have played today to alleviate
and they
the
could
people.
Start next Monday, or you can rotate between players playing today, players playing Thursday, players playing Monday, and then when is the second leg of the League Cup? Is it following Thursday?
Yeah,
it's next Thursday week.
It's the following Thursday,
February, right?
So, but players are going to go to Anfield out on their feet. The ones that not that they're not out on their feet now, but to me, I know that Ange's got some responsibility, and maybe there's things that are not working with Ange. But I'm done with this board. I'm done with Levy. I'm done with Enoch.
We need. This is why we need players in this window now for the Anfield
but we need
game,
them 3 weeks ago.
He's got things to consider, isn't he? He's got to consider Augsburg. Do I go as strong as I can, or do I play the kids because he's got Brentford? And then with Brentford, he's got to think, well, now we're playing Brentford. I've got to pick a team, but then we've got Liverpool on the Thursday afterwards. So And he's got to do the maths and work out there's no transparency with us because we don't know who's fit, who's really gassed, who's really carrying a knock or not. We know the squad looks knackered because they usually start well and start brightly, and then at half hour you never know if we're going to fall right off the pace completely. Like we run out of gas. But let's move on to the game, right? Because Ian, you'll know where I am on this, and Jose, you might know. I'm not sure how old you are.
Yeah,
I know Brookie. Yeah.
Well, to us, me and Ian, he was known as Gary Bommerbrook because he did have a shot on him. They would tee him up 20, 30 yards out just to have a shot on goal because he could really hit one. And he was in part of the 14-man squad that Harold Keith Birkinshaw. Everybody calls him Keith, but his first name was Harold, right? Harry Birkinshaw. And he was I don't know if he started. I can't remember. It's funny with cup winning teams. I can't remember. He started these games. He was one of the subs because squads were 14.
Sub
14 and come on. And so he got two FA Cup winners medals. The minutes applause was good. there. I mean, a lot of generational fans, they won't even know who Gary Brook is. Like, you know. But, yeah, so I was pleased with that because I remember the kid, right? Okay, we'll move on to the game. We'll quickly go through this because we're going to talk more about the club and the situation. 14 minutes, Gray cross, Bergwell. Porro had a shot, parried away from danger. 17 minutes, Son fires low shot towards the bottom corner, and it was tipped around the post. 21 minutes, Justin shoots low at the arms of Kinski. 31 minutes, free kick punched away. Son crosses, ball strikes the crossbar. We hit the crossbar twice during the game, actually. Didn't think so. 33 minutes, Porro great cross. Richarlison heads home. Tom, it was you mentioned Porro earlier, the good and the bad and the ugly about Porro. This was another one of his excellent crosses, like, you know.
Yeah, and Richarlison's kind of the perfect man to have on the end of them. Like he that's probably the one of the few things that he's kind of good at is getting on the end of crosses, and he's brave. You know, he took a clatter into the post to get it. And it just shows how simple it can be sometimes, doesn't it? Just a decent cross and a player running in, like we just it's just a classic case where we need even if we were 2 goals up at half time, that doesn't help us. So we clearly need more to be 2 or 3 goals up in half time because we just cannot get the energy for the second half of football. But yeah, good cross, good header.
Ian, Jose, you want to comment on the goal at all, or I'll move on?
Cracking goal. In fact, I'm not alone in thinking that Porro would be ideal playing, you know, wide right. I know that Porro needs a rest, but Kulusevski looks like he needs a rest more. Could have played Porro further forward, and given Kulusevski a rest, put Gray in at right back, played Gregory on. So many things he could do to help himself. Ange, which I don't think he's doing much at the moment. But fabulous cross. Absolute stunning cross.
Jose, you got anything to say about the goal?
It's the only thing.
I'll come to you with a meltdown then, right? Straight away.
It was the only thing that he did in the whole game. I don't think Richarlison's never been the player for me. He might nick a goal here and there, but he has got atrocious for a professional footballer. He has got atrocious first-time ball control. Has no skill whatsoever. For me, he's a very, very raw player, and the goal he scored today is the kind of goals that he would score. He neither headed it; it was like bundled into the goal. The only time that I've ever seen him break that cycle for me is when he scored twice against Everton last year. For me, they were both world-class goals. We can go. I want to ask you, like, you were there, Adrian, so I want to ask you a question about Richarlison in a minute. But yeah, go on.
Right, I want to stay with you on the 46th minute. Porro and Bentancur, who I thought was brilliant against Hoffenheim, actually, were at fault here, losing the ball. De Cordova re-drills a low cross. Kinski dives but doesn't collect it. And Vardy sort of bundles it into the net, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a poor goal to concede. And how many goals, because the other one comes from this right-hand side again, have we conceded from the right-hand side? And I've been going on about this, and I'm not a stats person or a numbers person, you know, whether you're 6. I'm not that. I'm old school, and I test merchant mainly. But how many goals have we conceded on our right-hand side? And if not the right-hand side, that have been scored in the right-hand side of our net, whichever way we're kicking. It must be, someone stats. And I asked Ashmatic to do it, actually, when he was on the show the other week. But because he's the stats kiddie, you know. But, yeah.
For me, you can put this one and the next goal. Both goals, quite clearly, Pedro Porro at fault for both goals. And whether, I don't know what happened with the cross was a really good cross. It was a very, very good cross by De Cordova Reed. And I don't know, there were 3 players. There was one before Kinski, then there was Kinski, and there was 2 behind Kinski. I don't know whether there was any talk or any shouting between the Tottenham players, but the ball went through 2 of our players and landed fortuitously landed at Vardy's feet, and he put it in before Gray could get to him. So but both goals, and I make no bones here, both goals were Pedro Porro. Whether and I think because he's been overplayed mentally, it's not fit, and physically he switched off for 2 goals. They were both his fault. He gave both balls away, but leading to both goals.
That cross that Deco Duveried did for that goal is the exact cross that Pedro Porro should have done in the 65th minute when he
smashed it in that side netting
and smashed it into the side netting.
Yeah, he went for glory, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks that's because there's been a lot of like stick thrown Porro's way, that he wants that glory moment to kind of be like, but like be your glory moment, getting 2 assists.
And like being at fault with a goal, that might have urged him to have a shot.
Yeah, be your glory moment, not giving the ball away for 2 goals. Like it's just it's irritating.
He should have squared it. It might have been in his mind, oh shit, I've screwed up on the first goal, I'm trying to make amends. I remember Glenn Oldham saying he scored a hat-trick in the reserves and he scored 2 goals. He got the third one, which was a strike. He said the next day he's walked across the car park. This is alluding to what you've just said, Tom. And Bill Nicholson said, well, you know, what do you think of my game, Bill? He's gone to him like, he said, I'd always said, you should have squared it for the tapping rather than get that. But he scored the third goal. So Bill Nicholson was still on him. And that was crying out for a ball to be cut back, wasn't it, in that position, Tom? It was, you know.
And that's the thing.
You might get an own goal or anything, you know, when you're squaring it back, you know.
Square that back, 65th minute, 2-2, got the momentum. I see us going on and well, I say that, but momentum's a thing in football, right? Like, you know, they don't Leicester get that second goal because they got that first goal and they got the wind up their tail, and we suddenly go, oh crap, get that goal back, and then they're the ones that are then going, oh crap, but we just never gave them a moment where they had to really worry, and that could have been that moment. It's just The thing is, we've seen the videos on social media of, you know, Ryan Mason running them through the drills that Andrew set up of, you know, low balls into the box, low early balls into the box, like literally do it without looking, low early balls.
It's adversity.
Trained to do. So it's something that they're trained to do, and yet not doing it.
We'll move on to this because we want to talk about the club, really. 50 minutes, 2-1 to them. Porro Bentancur, gift possession. Cordova, I think, has got the thing it's wrong in. And El Canus, he's just completing free space, charges to the centre of the midfield, picks his spot. I mean, it was a good finish. It was a good finish. But to give him that space.
Tired minds, poor decision making. You know, you set off and set off and set off. I mean, I don't know what happened at half time, because we came out as if instead of having a half time Orange, they had half time Mogadon. I mean, seriously, they played like they were half asleep most of the second half.
Yeah.
And Leicester aside, you know, goals change games, and Leicester were a side totally devoid of confidence. And as soon as they got one, you could see their tails were up.
Mm. You other guys want to have a say on this, or I'll move on quickly?
I mean, yeah, like Porro, an absolutely woeful ball to Bentancur. And because of where Porro was with possession, our midfielders had gambled, and a terrible, terrible pass has then left them high and dry. But when El Canus has got that ball, I cannot for 1 second fathom why Davis or Dragson hasn't gone to challenge him. Again, that's exactly the same thing for the Ndai goal against Everton last week, where they've retracted, they've walked backwards into their
They're not
box.
proactive, they're reactive. I mean, like, Dragons should have been proactive and gone for it. Take the player out if you have to.
To be honest, I think that was more on Davis's side. So probably Davis is more at fault for that one today. But that's where a Romero ain't standing off in there. A Romero's going and challenging it. And even if he gives a free kick away, you know, he's going and that's the difference in individual players. Like, and the problem is like having players who are a bit of a drop off when you have to rotate is absolutely understandable. We're Tottenham, we're not Man City, we're not expecting like for like. It's absolutely understandable. But like the fact that we've had to play like a left back at centre back, a centre midfielder at centre back, that's the issue. Like even if you had 2 Radu Dragosins, yeah, that would be better than having to deal with what we're having to deal with at the moment. The drop off isn't the problem in the quality necessarily. We could improve it, but it's just we have the lack of numbers as well. And that's just irritating. But I don't know what more to say about the game, to be honest with you. It was just dire.
Get through the game as quick as possible. 54 minutes more for Richarlison.
Can I ask you the question now then, Ian? Right, sorry, Adrian. Richarlison came off in the 54th minute, right? So this is a Richarlison that we've been told by the club has been fit for a while now, and what they're doing with him is they're making sure they haven't brought him back any earlier because they wanted to make sure that he was going to be at full throttle and he was all buff and he was all everything and he was going to be at full throttle. The guy lasted 55 minutes today. The guy didn't last the other night against the Germans either. And I'm just like, with the guy, it's like you're hamstrung. Why didn't Lancashire start? Why didn't you just give Lancashire a start? If you've got a player that ain't going to give you and can't play, why didn't Lancashire start? Again, this is another player that we've had that is at the club. We've carried him since he came to us from Everton. Apart from a small patch of last season where he played, I don't know, I'd say about 10 weeks. He played for about 10 weeks consistently. And in them 10 weeks, he done well. He scored goals because he was consistently playing. But that's the only time that he's ever put a consistent run of appearances and 90-minute games for Tottenham. And
I'm not going to make excuses for the club here. I mean, because we don't know his actual level of fitness. And you just can't come back for an injury and go into the pace of the Premiership. It may be a question of like nursing him up to full fitness, but starting him. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that. I mean, I haven't got the answers because it's the same thing when I compose the team selection. We don't know now because we know the players are gassed. We're really in no man's land, really.
If you got Ben Davies that was out with a serious injury, right? Ben Davies was meant to be coming back. And he was meant to play, I don't know, 60 minutes of a match, the first game that he played back. So it must have been the game before the Hoffenheim game. And whatever happened against Everton, he was only meant to play 60 minutes, but he ended up playing the whole game. He played the whole game against Hoffenheim as well. And he's been out with an injury. He's played 2 full 90-minute games. We just don't have. This is where we need even more players. We don't have.
Exactly that.
We don't have. Solanke being out as well. We don't have the help that we have up front, and then you burn players like Son and Kulusevski out because you're having to play them because you don't want to trust to play Lancashire or Mikey Moore, and now we've got a player in Richarlison who can't last. You can't. I can't see how you can trust a player like Richarlison because he doesn't last.
No, you sell him in the summer. We can't get rid of anyone in this window. We need everybody.
We don't know, do we, that the decision to take Richarlison off wasn't tactical.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, if it was a decision of utter incompetence.
I mean,
the crowd booed when it was taken off, actually.
Yeah, the crowd booed. That was when I had to turn a game off on my phone. But my thing is, right, that Van de Ven came back and he was only meant to play 60 minutes in that Chelsea game. Because Romero got injured early on, he ended up playing 79 minutes, got injured again. So they've clearly said with Richarlison, look, each game you're only going to play 55 to 60 minutes until you're up to speed with things. Like the one thing I would say is it's not like Richarlison looked pissed off to come off the pitch. He came off, he cracked, he sat down like he wasn't like throwing a paddy that he had just been taken off by the manager. So it's clearly part of the thing and stuff like that. They're obviously nursing him back in, which is understandable because they don't want a reoccurrence of injuries. You know, that's sensible. But again, the change you made, I liked more coming on and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. There's just so much we could go into about what's right.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, for me personally, I would rather play Lancashire, right, and have Lancashire go out and flog his bollocks for an hour, let's say. And if Richarlison isn't that fit, give Richarlison the last half an hour to really rev him and go at it. Not the
I
other
think
way
Ian
around.
alluded to it earlier. I think Ange went through experience.
Not the other way around. Yeah, but you know what? You keep going for experience for knackered players and for knackered.
I know.
I
I'm only suggesting what I believe Ange did. Anyway, we'll move on for the game, then we go for the players anyway. So, 58-minute, Cooley shoots, deflects off phase, and Justin clears. That was close. Then 62 minutes, the bit that Tom brought up earlier. Porro shoots, ball Callens off the crossbar. Bentancur skews the rebound wide. This is the one which Tom alluded to. 66 minutes. Porro lashes shot into side netting when he should have squared it. 69 Reguilon yellow card. 72 minutes, Porro crosses Dragons and heads over. He should have done better with that. And 94 plus minutes, Lancashire for Gray on the 90 plus 4 minutes. So that was that, right? That's the game done. Right? There was boos around the stadium. I never boo the team players. It's not in my Spurs course, not the way I was brought up. Just we'll whiz through the players. Ian Kingsley, how do you think he did?
All right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No better than all right. He's,
Okay.
he started off quite brilliantly, but as I say, in his career, he hasn't made any great saves or anything. He's decent with his feet, but he done all right.
So, Jose, pick one, Gray or Porro, because we want to talk about the club. Too contrasting here. It's too contrast here.
give me Porro.
Oh, go on and take Porro. Go on.
Porro, I can't repeat it. He's playing on fumes. He's physically gone. Mentally, he goes as well, which is no surprise. And both goals, he was at fault for both goals. And he was trying to be the superhero on more than one occasion when he should have crossed balls. He was taking shots at goal and inside netting. It wasn't just the once he did it. He did it about 3 times. Wrong decision making in what I will say is the final 10 yards, not even in the final third. It was the final 10 yards of the pitch. Wrong decision making over and over and over again in the second half. Probably trying to make up for the 2 errors he made for their goals. But Porro had a great cross for Richarlison's goal. Apart from that, Porro, no flowers whatsoever for you, mate.
Tom Gray, Archie Gray.
There's not much more you can really add to Gray. Like he's Mr. Utility at the moment, isn't he? Started left back, then we actually got to see him play in midfield, where I thought he actually played quite well for his cameo in midfield. I'd like to see him actually play there a bit more. Like, why are we playing Archie Gray left back when we've got a perfectly adequate left back on the bench in Reguilon? That's my frustration. But he looks knackered as well now, Archie Gray, to be honest with you. So, as does everyone.
Yeah, after the Hoffenheim game, him and Bergvall they fell on the floor. They were on their knees as well. They are tired. They're 18 years old, these kids. They're tired as well.
Yeah.
Ian, pick one. Davis, Dragerson.
I'll take Davis. He's not the problem. He's always maligned. He doesn't make that many mistakes. Always gives 110% for the club. We've always, we're particularly you and I. Jose's a few years younger and Tom a lot younger, but we've always had a player that's in the in the sight of the Boo Boys. Whether it was Harry Winks or several before him. Unfortunately, Davis has attracted a lot of criticism that is
and Ian, very low maintenance, and like the 10 years he's been at the club, he was left out of the 3 finals as well.
Who's this?
Davis was left out of the 3 finals as well, and he didn't moan or anything. Like a pro, true pro.
Sorry, I mean, there's just that comment. I know you go back to the banner. Davis is such a professional.
Yeah, he is.
100%.
Yeah, he is, Chris.
He's an absolutely model professional. If you had 25 Ben Davises in your club with that mentality, you'd have a bloody good football team. Sorry, you want to go back to your banner?
Yeah, it's okay.
You got it. Sorry.
Jose Dragerson.
Today, I don't know. Did you see his passing again today when he got the ball and he played it out? He can't pass. Yeah, but he's instead of passing it to Porro, or it's either Porro or Gray, or instead of passing it, he booted it out of play.
Yeah,
and the player was right beside him. You know, Dragusin, you know, okay, he's still young. He's still young. He's got time on his side. He probably can get coached, but as for passing, I don't know how he's made it to be a professional footballer.
And as for his agent, Flora Manea, if I remember his name correctly, saying like, "Oh, it's a stepping stone for him if he playing for Real Madrid. Real Madrid ain't going near him with a barge pole."
To be honest, he'd probably do all right at Real Madrid because it's a totally different league and different. Like he's not going to be expected to do the passing that he's expected to do in this. Like as a box defender, and I mean literally in his box, he's all right, but he's not a passer of the ball. And actually, I know, like you said, like he just lumped it out of play. But had Porro done that, we wouldn't have been 2-1 down.
Well, I'll stay with you, Tom. Pick one. The others can have the others. Pick one.
Bentancur, I'll take Bentancur, and you know, I don't think he played as well as what he did against Hoffenheim.
He was excellent against Hoffenheim. My man of the match.
I think he was poorer today, but he is, you know, concussions. Concussion's a weird one. As a person who has suffered from a fair few concussions through stupid things like running into trees and stuff along the lines of that, but it does take more than 2 weeks to recover from a concussion, and especially you know, running and playing sports and stuff like that. We had a person who I've worked with who got a concussion and they weren't right for 6 months. For Tongan, you remember for Tongan, he got that concussion. He even says, I could not properly play football for 6 months. So we've got to be mindful of that with Bentancur. But that being said, I thought he was all right. He played a few good like crossfield passes, but it's debating like we don't have a midfielder that can break lines. Like, you know, that deep lying playmaker like a Modric like used to do, who can just pick up that ball and just keep it ticking over and also get that ball moving forward. Like everything's so ponderous. Like all of our midfielders have to take 2 touches before they can pass it, rather than already looking over their shoulder and seeing what options there and just moving it on. Like
Evening, Jess.
Harry Winks. Not saying we need Harry Winks. People used to moan at him for sideways passing. But what he was doing, he was doing that in one touch. He was getting the ball, bang, go, and that kept the ball moving. And that's something when we're missing someone who can actually look after the ball in the middle and can completely control the tempo of a game. None of our midfielders can control a tempo of a game.
We have younger talent that can do that, but that's for another show.
Yeah.
Ian, Bergvall or Sarr?
I like Bergvall. I'll talk about Bergvall because I'm not impressed with Sarr at the moment either.
Fair enough.
Although I gather he shouldn't have played. Yeah, Bergvall, probably not his greatest game, to be honest with you. But, you know, look, he's 18 years of age. Remember, he's 18 years of age. He's confident. He moves the ball well. He passes the ball well. He's got a dig in him. It wasn't his best game today, but he
made one beautiful long crossfield pass to the left wing, though.
From Sarr.
Got that range of passing, yeah.
It was a fabulous pass, and if I tell you what, that would have been one of our goals of the season. If Sonny had managed to convert that, it was a wonderful pass, wonderful long raking, accurate pass. And in fact, the fact that he can do that, it's an area that I'm disappointed in Maddison. Maddison isn't playing that, you know, game-changing pass in the final third, where, you know, risk and reward football and what have you. It was a great pass. I think Bergvall has just got an exponential upward,
a very high ceiling.
And he's going to be a great player. But unfortunately, he might be showing it in the Championship if we don't buck our ideas up.
Jose Sarr, who I thought was our best midfielder last season.
Anonymous. I had to ask you whether he played or not. I have to ask anybody that watches the game that goes to the stadium whether he played or not, because I'm unaware when I watch the television that he's actually played the game. I do the pump-up shows on We Are Tottenham TV, and every time that he gets selected, I turn around and say the same thing, and I said it today as well. He needs to show up for a football match. he needs to do something. He needs to do things that makes him noticeable. Sarr played. Sarr's a good player. Again, for me, I don't recall anything he did in the game today that was of anything of any note whatsoever. And yeah, it's anonymous. I said before, people may think I'm harsh. I've got my own opinions, like you guys have got. I think Sarr has hit his ceiling. There's no further ceiling for Sarr. For Bergwijn, there might be.
I'm on the wait and see there. I'm on the wait and see there. The reason I say that, he scored that goal against City. He put the through ball for Sonny, who was 2 yards in a half when he ran on and scored the goal against West Ham. I think the kid's got. It's not a sexy. It's not. You get players that don't have they're not sexy or don't look sexy in a position. They can be unsung heroes at times. Last season, he was by far our best midfielder. That hasn't gone for me. He was by far our best midfielder, and I've got a bit more faith in than you have. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Yeah, for me, I said that Sarr reminds me of when Wenger was bringing all these youngsters to the club at Arsenal, and he reminded me of the number 2 that used to play from Abu Dhabi, who was absolutely hit his ceiling as well, and he's moved on from the Arsenal. And Danielson, who was number 15 for Arsenal, another one who had no ceiling whatsoever, was didn't get any further than what you saw, and was out of the club as well. He reminds me of them 2 players.
Right, okay.
Tom? Just on Sarr.
Go on.
I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but my one thing with Sarr is that he is not he is like a finishing item of a rounded midfield. He's not going to make a midfield. He's not going to be able to drag a midfield through a game. But if you have a person who can dictate the play, playing deeper, and you have a person who has got that cutting edge pass, like that playmaking type ability higher up the pitch, and then you have Sarr as your runner, your energy, your person getting into the box late, that absolutely works, and he is good at that. But he is not a player who should be getting on the ball deep, because he cannot pick a pass to save his life in that position. He is very panicky on the ball in that position and gives it away a lot. He is a midfielder who should be making last-minute runs into the box to get on the end of things, or on the edge of the box to try and score from there. And you can only play a player like that if your other 2 midfielders, if we're playing 3, if your other 2 midfielders are of the required quality. How we are in this moment, I just don't. He can't. He's not the right player.
Right, staying with you, Tom, Richarlison or Kulusevski. Pick one.
I mean, I don't think there's much to say about any of these guys really. Like Son, I'll take Son and say that he looked a little bit brighter, but still flattered to deceive slightly. Like there's lots of talk about him shushing the fans and blah 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 blah, whatever. If we're going to give it, then sometimes you've got to take it as well as fans. It's one thing I would say is it's not all the fans that are giving it and stuff, but but he looked a bit better. He looked a bit better having a striker. Charlison, who's putting the effort in and stuff alongside him, but not good enough.
Well, you're going to get lots of toxicity and stick bashing when we're going through what we're going through. As Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going. Ian, Richarlison or Kulu?
I'll take Richarlison. 60 million quid we paid for him. Just shows how good our recruitment is.
And Ian, that is the problem right there, right? 60 million could buy you a player that is twice as good as Richarlison.
Vlahovic to start off with, you get him for 50 million.
But do you know what the problem is? Is to get that player, you then have to pay them twice the amount of wages as what Richarlison's on, and they will not do it. And that is the problem. It's not the transfer fees that we spend that are the problem. It is the wages. We will not pay for the top players to come in. And that is the biggest problem. In 60 million would get you a proper quality striker as long as you paid them the wage.
Yeah.
They won't do it.
He's going, isn't he? Unless he can really smash it. It's second up. Well, the last 15 games, I don't see it.
And he won't go to Saudi, where he'd probably find the football a little bit easier for him, because I think mentally the Premier League's too big for him. Yeah, he disappointed. He took his goal well, and again, and I'm going back to something I said earlier about the leading of the line, is that once Richarlison went off, we had nobody leading the line at all.
Exactly. Yeah, and Lancashire come on too late, didn't he? To be honest.
Oh, what was the point of that?
Yeah,
94
exactly.
minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
this is where I'm an Ange fan, but I'm becoming less and less when he makes decisions as crass and as stupid as that.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll talk about that in a bit. Jose Kulusevski.
Burnt out, didn't do much today. He was bullied off the ball. Hell of a lot. Doesn't normally get bullied, but got bullied off the ball because he hasn't got the strength. He's absolutely running on fumes. And at the end of the day, he didn't kick the ball as well as he normally does. But then it doesn't surprise me. We are where we are because of what we do. And to me, I would not select him to play on Thursday. But I wouldn't select
before we talk about the club and our present predicament, right? And Ian can go through the chat. I'll give you the stats for the game. Stats possession, we had 60% to their 40. Shots on target, we had 6 to their 3. Total shots, we had 15 to their 12. Shot accuracy, ours was 40% to their 20%. We had 6 corners to their 4. We had 17 clearances, they had 30. We had 523 passes to their 349. Our pass accuracy, I struggle with this, is that we had 84% to their 74. Crosses, we had 35 to 16. Did we have 35 crosses? Cross accuracy, ours was 20% to their 19. Any comments on the stats, any of you? I'm not a fan of stats, I've got to be honest.
The team that scores the most goals wins. The rest is only gossip.
Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about predicament, yellow cards, we'll only Relegation pick one up a day, which was a silly one. I've kept the 5s at the top because if we get 10 before the 32nd match, you then get a 2-match ban rather than a 1-match ban. The Europa League yellow cards are these. Kulu 2, Lancashire 2, Drags, blah, 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 blah. Fixtures coming up. Like we say, Thursday, Elfsborg, Brentford away. Then we got what is a very big game for us, although Brentford is as well now, Liverpool and Villa. And Villa's in the FA Cup. So you couldn't have, after Elfsborg, every game's a really big game because we're through in the Europa League. So even if the shit hit the fan against Elfsborg, these next 4 games, Brentford for 3 points, the second leg semi-final when we need a draw at Anfield, and then like Villa in the FA Cup. Andrew's going to have, he's got to juggle his forces. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on with players being gassed or fitness. I'm the same as you guys critiquing the lineup as well because he contradicts himself in the press conferences, saying like as if I don't know if he's trying to excuse himself or just make statements.
I think he's being told.
Say, well, hang about. Well, why didn't you play him instead? You know what I mean?
I think he's being told that he can't say certain things. Essentially, and you can tell, like, because let's face it, the 2 times that a manager has said what they really think, they've then got the sack. So I think it's a very difficult one with Ange and the situation he's in. He's in one breath, he's saying, we are playing with fire if we do not buy any more players in. Oh yeah, but the club are trying. Like he's right. This is the line they want me to say. Here's what I actually think, and then it's up to our intelligence as fans to kind of work out what is he actually is saying. In terms of like, we just cannot have another 2 games. Like, as much as I feel like I completely understand, can't have another 2 games, but we also can't lose to Brentford or next weekend. And the thing is, Brentford at home are I think they've actually got the best home record in the league. No, but Brentford are playing at home.
Oh yeah,
Brentford are dangerous. Brentford away from home are nowhere near as good as Brentford at home. Brentford at home, I think, have only lost 1 2 games this season. 1 game, yeah. So they're a completely different animal at home in comparison to away. So that is not going to be an easy game. Elfsborg, the more I think about it, and we do not want 2 extra games, I do feel like actually you brought Olacisi on for the last 10 minutes of the 15 minutes or whatever it was of the Hoffenheim game when we were 3-2. That was if you can bring him on when we're 3-2 and we're up against it, then he can start against Elfsborg at home. At home, young players, the crowd will get behind them. I'd hope. I just think Lancashire, Moore, Olacisi will have to play. They just got to in that game to give players the rest that need to play. And if he doesn't do that, then there's only one person you can point a finger at when these players get good or injured or we lose at anything, and that's Ange.
Right. So this is important now because we're all frustrated. Transfer window closes Monday the 3rd of February at 2300. That's 8 days, right? 5 days in this month, another 3 days, 8 days. And we'll talk about this now. While we're talking about it, I'll leave Eltel's link up here. For those of you, get over there. Eltel does a wonderful job. He runs competitions like Football League competitions. I haven't got the patience that he puts into something like that. I've got to admit, he does a fantastic Brilliant. Get over there. It's good fun. It gets competitive. When you're in there, I'm trying to chase Ian down at the moment. Yeah. So it's good fun.
I think I've only scored 5 points.
I think I got 10. I think I got 10 this week.
So
1, 3, and the rest are singles.
This
yeah.
is what happens when you come back at. I don't know.
When you leave the country, people stab you in the back.
I've had a bad week this week. So anyway,
right. Jose. Now, I actually believe that most of the week, most of the transfer business is done in this last week in January, which normally happens because the last week focuses minds, whatever club you're at, to get a deals done. Are you hopeful we're going to get 1 or 2 in?
I don't know what this club's going to do. Like I said, I made it clear earlier that it's quite unique this year because the first time that we've had this European competition stretched to 8 games in the group stages. So next week, that might be why they extended the window till the 3rd of February, because by next Thursday, what 12 teams are going to drop out of the Champions League, but they don't drop into the Europa. You're out of the competition completely. Yeah. So there'll be 12 teams. I think you start with 36 and only 24 go free. So it's 12 teams out of the Champions League. 12 teams will be out of Europa. 12 teams will be out of the conference. And therefore, people will be able to judge where they believe they're at and, what players that they're willing to let go in this window. And, it remains to be seen. Yes, the window is the busiest. The last week of the window is always the busiest. But what I will say is Tottenham have had problems for months and months and months and months and months leading up to this window. Man City have had problems of a different nature, of poor form. Man City have gone out, they bought 3 players. They've spent more on 3 players this transfer window than any of all the Premiership combined in last year's winter transfer window. So I'm not holding out hope on any more players coming to Tottenham Hotspur.
Ian, how many do you think we're getting? Do you think we're going to buy a player? Or do you think it'd be loans to buy or loans?
I don't know what the club's thinking. I've given up trying to second guess. The suggestions that there's money coming in and therefore the club aren't spending any money. That might be right. But the problem is anyone that's looking to buy this club at the moment is thinking its value might be significantly down in 6 months' time, significantly down. So you would not want to be paying top dollar now. You would think if Levy is interested in selling, he would find 100 million to protect his £5 billion investment. I don't know what the thinking is. I have no idea what's going on. It's been obvious we've needed strengthening, and they don't appear to be willing to do it. I don't understand why.
Well,
Well, hang on a minute. Ange said we've got players coming. I'm expecting something imminently. Now, maybe that was Mwambi or what, I don't know. But clearly some things are not right, and they're not being able to attract players. Whether it's, Tom says it's the wages, whether Levy isn't finding the money for the transfers, because there must be money under profit and sustainability or whatever. I don't know. And no wonder the players are the players are becoming disenchanted. It's a sorry state of affairs. I mean, out of interest, just a quote here from Twitter. I don't think we should sack the manager. Once all our players are back, I think we can get top 4 next season, and hopefully that means we can come up in the playoffs. I thought there's a bit of gallows humour, but I think it's just how we're all feeling at the moment. I've got no idea. I keep thinking we're going to pull rabbits out the hat, but I keep looking at the hats and there's no bleeding rabbits there.
Big fat off hole in the hat.
Do you think there's less likely of us buying a player, but more chance of getting a loan player or loan players or loan to buy players? I quite like loan to buy. Try before you buy. You know what I mean?
I mean, at this point, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that I don't want a player who's just on a loan. It's either a loan with an option to buy or an obligation. I don't like just a straight loan, because
the reason I say that is because if I'm not for going and getting another Jack Clark or a Joe Roden and all that. If you haven't got a player that fits the profile, you either got a situation where you don't buy at all. Now that can also be catastrophic in the situation we're in, because we need fresh legs, right? But you could still then get a loan player and a loan to buy a player in, right? To ease you through the situation we find ourselves in to the end of the season. They might not be the right profile, but then you're not buying them. So, or you've got the option to buy them if they turn it around.
My biggest issue is that I don't know what Levy's trying. Levy, he's for years always tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the fans, and has got away with it for the most part. But he can't do that anymore because of all the financial reports that come out that just show that he is an idiot, basically. Like, I think, don't get me wrong, it's wonderful stadium he's built. It's given us the opportunity to be in a position where we are financially ahead of loads of other teams, and in a position where we're not worrying about the rules and regulations and stuff like that. But he's not capitalizing on that, which is just idiocy in its finest. Like the report that came out, the Lotta report that was like, oh, Spurs are the lowest team in the Premiership of wage percentage to the amount of revenue.
Yeah, ours is about 42%, which is low. Others are up in the 60%, I think.
42, 45% in the season of 23-24, when we still had Ndombele on the books, we still had Højbjerg on the books, we still, for part of it, had Lloris on the books. So we've now got rid of all of that. That, plus, we didn't have Europe last season, so we now have European financial income coming in. So this season, I would not mind betting that percentage of revenue to wages is actually more like 35%, which is way down. The top teams that are paying the highest wages in comparison to their revenue, so your Cities, your Liverpools, your Uniteds, they're at like 55 to 60%. We're half, and yet we've got a financial.
To me, it appears like we're being taxed, and what Levy's trying to do is reduce the stadium debt, which was 600 down to 671 million, and we did owe 308 million on agents' fees, transfer fees, blah blah blah, which has to be amortized over 5 years, right? We'd have took obviously 20% off of that for last year, but then when you bring players in, you add to that again. And this is the thing. So so what they do is they put the prices up, get rid of the concessions and stuff like that, and make another £3 million a year. They put the price of beer and food up in the stadium. So we're being taxed. We're being taxed to help clear the stadium debt. It seems to be Levy's main priority is to reduce the debt and reduce wages.
Yeah, 100%. So that he then he's basically, what he's doing is he's trimming the fat so that when he can sell it, he makes even more money. Like, how much more money does he even really need to make? He bought the club for what, 25 million, was it?
A bit more than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And he's almost a billionaire in his own right because he owns 29% of ENIC.
Yeah.
Right?
So
and
he's bought
the actual value of the club, he values it at $5 billion, $6 billion, and all that. Whereas most companies on the stock exchange, right, they're valued at 5 times the usual annual turnover. Now, I don't know if that applies to sporting franchises as well, but if you said 5 times 549 mil, then the club's only worth 2.75 billion, and yet he values it at 5 or 6 billion. He's not getting that. He's not getting that.
No, but I just we need play. I know there's all these like talks and stuff that it just seems weird. Like, we're clearly in a position where we need to be investing, and the one thing I would say with Levy in the past is that if there was ever a risk of us going into the next season with no European football or no, something to keep that revenue coming in, that he would spend a bit of money to stop it from happening. And he's not spending anything.
Or relegation, or the fear of relegation.
Exactly. I mean, well, to be honest, he probably doesn't mind relegation because then that's an extra blooming like 4 home games that he can charge like top dollar for, isn't it? And get, but I just.
But you're not going to get investors and sponsors if you're in the championship.
No.
Right?
I mean, that's very much a tongue-in-cheek comment from me there.
And people, if he wants an investor, if we're down the bottom half of the league and we're not in Europe, that also affects it because they're going to think,
does he want an investor?
Why will I invest in you and not invest someone else who's more successful?
I don't know if he wants an investor. He probably wouldn't mind someone coming in and going, oh, here's 500 million, but he gets to stay as the main man and pay himself. He'll probably go, an extra 500 million. I'll pay myself an extra 3 million in
the reason Levy wants an investor or someone that can invest 200, 300, 400, 500 million is because, this is my opinion, the club do not want to borrow any money. They've got great interest rates on the debts that they have, right? The different loans they've got. If you can bring that money in, someone comes in, an investor, right? You can build the hotel, you can do up the women's training ground, you can spend millions basically, and you're not borrowing money from the banks and paying interest on that money. And
all the while we get relegated into the championship whilst you're building your hotel and stuff like that.
Well, that is like, a distinct possibility, but I mean, I'm concerned about a position, but I'm not fretting over it. I'm not fretting.
I know, but he's got to see that he needs to put his hand into his pocket, not even his pocket.
In a way, I'm a little bit pleased. Not because I'm being like masochistic towards Spurs and we're getting poor results. I'm not one that wanted to finish like 15th and win a trophy. All our eggs seem to be in this Europa League now. The pressure will be on to win it because it's going to be our only chance of getting in Europe now. I think that's our only chance of getting into Europe. But and if this result doesn't put pressure, I mean, Ange says, "Oh, I've been talking to Johan Lange every day." Yeah, well, tell him to get his fucking finger out. Then, you know what I mean? I mean, like we need at least 2 or 3 players in. We'll probably get 2 on loan. I mean, there's been rumours about that Juventus have offered us, Chelsea, Arsenal, and PSG Vlahovic, right? You could buy him for 50 mil. They paid 74 for him. And now they've got Moani. The new coach there's a bit different. I would snap. He doesn't suit the end system. Moves the ball quickly, got vision, and the guy's got an eye for goal. And even against England in that game, the way he quickly turned and shot, but it just went over the bar and things like. I mean, I like the player. He doesn't suit the system, but I would take him at a pinch. Over Gyökeres, we'll take him over him. Over Marmoush that went to Man City, take him over him. But that's just my opinion on a player.
It's so hard for me to even form opinions on players because there's just no tenable links to anything. And, Johan Lang likes to work in secrecy, but at the moment it just looks like he doesn't like to work. It's just nothing is happening, and we're just in the dark over everything. Like, communication is everything, right? And even if Lang came on a social on the socials and went, we are looking at players, you know, it's tough with the new European competition that's made getting players in early at the prices that we're wanting to pay hard. Then okay, yeah, it'll be annoying, but at least we kind of have a bit of an idea of what's going on. But there's just nothing. It's just Ange put out in front of to, you know, be killed by the media.
Just to stop you a second, Ian, if you got to go in.
Yeah, well, you got that. Yeah, I'll carry on with some of this on Tuesday night.
All right, I'm hoping to get Jim Oso Spurs on, who's good, and Brad Matthews as well. Two excellent guests.
Well, who knows whether we'll be doing a new manager special, but
we might have brought someone in by then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we might have even bought a player, and I can be optimistic. I'll sort Tuesday's show. I'll be in touch. Right, guys. Thanks everybody in the chat. That was the question that Brian put. Amanda Stavely, I think, is the name you're looking for, Brian. I think she's still in the wings from what I can hear. But
we're carrying on, guys. I mean, my attitude is like.
Good night, Jose. Good night, Tom. Good night,
Jose even talks of investors, right? I mean, the clue's in the word investor, Jose, isn't it? I mean, like, what's a good night, Ian? Sorry, I don't want an investor. I want a buyer.
You might whatever you might want, you won't get anyway, because he's not selling. And I keep saying to people, you know, at the end of the day, he's got kids, his bloodlines. If he sells, you'll just get another Levy. Sorry. If he goes, it will just pass it down, and you'll just get another Levy. He's got bloodlines, and you know, at the end of the day, the sooner people wake up. I mean, I'd rather the club be sold, but if it's going to be sold, I want it to be sold to someone that's got footballing ambition. But I can understand why investors want to get involved. I do understand why investors would want to get involved with a club like Tottenham Hotspur, because it's a fucking cash cow. But yeah, to me, as I said, and I said it many a time before, if he goes, he's got kids, and if he goes, it's a bit like Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis has gone and left what he's got at Tottenham in other people's names within his family. So, you know, and the same can happen with Levy. In order to buy Tottenham Hotspur, and I said this the other day, what are you buying? If you're buying just the football club and just the football side of it, then it's going to be like £2.5 to £3 billion. But then if you're trying to buy the whole emporium of it, so the hotels and everything that goes with it, bells and whistles, then what is the price? What is the sweet spot for it? Because this is something that's going to make money in the future. The hotels will carry on. The hotels are going to make money, you know, or the concerts. We're going to get more non-footballing days at the stadium as well. This is going to rake in money and revenue year in, year out for the very, very, very long foreseeable. So how much is the whole kit worth, you know, to sell the whole lot, including the football club?
At the moment, if you go by
people are saying 8 billion at the moment.
No chance.
But just on the football alone, I think we bring just over £500 million just on the football alone. The total revenue streams last year was 549 million. Okay, so that's 1 year. So
hold on. But that, don't forget your accounts a year behind. That was taken into consideration. Our season in the Champions League, we get a lot more money. This next year's account's going to be a drop-off. I don't care. We got more sponsors. It's going to be a drop-off. Right? It's not going to be as much. Right?
Yeah, but there's been But where you take with one hand, you give with the other. There is every year there has been more non-event days added.
Yeah, no more event days. But when you look at a football game, right, at Spurs, on average, you got 1 million on pies and beer. On average, it's about 6 million a game. The actual revenue for us fans sitting in a stadium is not the bulk of the revenue, right? It's about 6 million a game. You've got 19 games, say 120 million out of 549, right? Let that sink in, right? So if you're doing events, admittedly, I might pay 70 quid a ticket, but if Beyonce's there, fans are paying 120 quid a ticket. All right,
more.
there's more money or more, right? There's more money. I've got no fear, as some fans said, that, okay, multi-complex stadium now, it's not a football stadium. It is, because even if you had the NFL there, right, they play 17 games a season. So if you had a franchise there, the most they could play at home is 9 home games, right? Spurs play 19 home games without cup games, right? Chances are Spurs would be 2.5 to 3 times the amount of games at that stadium that an NFL is. You might have, we know the Ben Eubank fight's going to be there now. That's been sorted. You've got the other concerts and all that. And I'm all for the events, because Tottenham's a poor borough and it creates jobs and it's a boon for the local businesses, the pubs, the bars and all that around the stadium in what is a poor area. I'm all for that, because that money all goes into the football club. Fans that want to bash look, I don't mind bashing the club when the stick is right to bash the club with, or the manager or whatever, and doing the critiques. That's fine. But when you want to just complain or sneer and bash the club, oh, they're more interested in events and all that, there's more into that. There's more.
Okay, Adrian, what I'm trying to get to, right, is the long. So when you're talking about the whole kit and caboodle and people are rumouring 8 billion, I'm saying, to me, 8 billion ain't enough, because when you look at the longevity of this, right, why would someone give up? At the moment, it saves 500 million, right, £500 million, right? Okay, we lost European football, but then we've gained more dates and concerts with some of the biggest stars in the world, where you can get a ticket for 200 quid. It's a lot more than a football ticket, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it like that, every 2 years you're going to make £1 billion, right? So if you look at it like that, in 8 years you make 4 billion, right? So why would you want to sell something whole kit and caboodle for 8 billion when this has got a longevity where you can carry on making money from this for years, for decades to come? This
is the trap that fans fall into. They think the 500 million, they think that's just profit. It's not. It's what you've earned. Now you've got to take all the expenses off that and the running cost and what you're left with. You know, and I think in last year's accounts we showed a loss of 86 million or something, right? But they'll have worked them accounts out on the stadium debt, and it was 308 million before 20% would have been amortized off that on what we owed agents' fees, ex-managers' fees, transfers and all that on top. That is not profit, that 500 million. You've got to take, there was 250, I think it was 252 or 251 when I looked at the accounts, 251.1 million was the wage bill for that year. But that was the year we were in the Champions League before we got rid of all the players and reduced the wage bill, right? Because people have to remember the accounts are a year behind. They're a year behind. And like next year's accounts aren't going to be what we earned this year. It's not profit. But
what I'm getting to is that with the amount of money that stadium is going to make and continue to make for years to come, decades to come, even 8 billion, you'd be mad to sell the whole lot for 8 billion, because you could make that 8 billion and more just by keeping yourself in and at the top of the helm for 20 years. You'll make 8 billion and more, is what I'm saying. So therefore, what I'm trying to say,
you're overestimating that. If someone was to buy a Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, right, and even if they paid 4 billion for it, and in theory it's worth 2.75, but say they paid 4 billion for it, you're the owner, or you're the rich guy, you're the Elon Musk. When are you going to see a return on the 4 billion you invested? Not in your lifetime. No way. Not in your lifetime. If you're talking about profit to recoup the money you've invested, you don't invest in a football club like Tottenham to make money, because no matter how much profit you make, fans will all insist you spend that money on players and even more of your own wealth. And if you go skint and leave the club, they won't give a shit, right? They want the next owner to do the same thing, right? So the maths don't add up. You buy a club like Tottenham Hotspur, if you're say you're Google, worth a Meta, Google, Alphabet, around that lot that are worth $1 trillion, or Microsoft, or your Elon Musk, you buy a club like Tottenham Hotspur because it's a shining jewel. It's strategically placed in London, right? And then if you buy it, you can use it because you'll have thousands of companies anyway. You can use it to enhance your global brand, right? And then when you do that and you're involved, all your partners, apart from all the companies you own, they'll want a piece of the action as well. So if you're Elon Musk or Alphabet that own Google, worth $1 trillion, all of them will want to come. They'll always want to sponsor the club and everything else like that. It's otherwise, like, why would you buy a football club? Who in their right mind would buy a football club?
So basically, from what Adrian's saying, everyone, we're stuck with Levy ain't going nowhere. It's as simple as that. You're describing
logically,
it ain't going
as
nowhere.
much as I'd like him to go and have owners, and when I'm talking about owners, what I'd like an owner to be able to do is what all fans want him to do, be able to spend the maximum amount they can under the rules. We know other clubs have broken the rules, and that'll all break lately because we've got a bit of banter going on anyway. Me and Jose, but I mean, like, yeah, but like, that's what you want. You can get a sugar daddy coming tomorrow, like Newcastle. Their owners are worth 36 billion. They can spend billions on building a new ground. That is not affected by FFP, PSR, or the new SCR rules, right? It's not affected by squad cost ratio, nothing like that. You can't do it with football and players. You cannot do it with that. So they can go and build a new ground for Newcastle, and it probably, with the money they've got, it'll be better than ours, right? Which is good, right? Good for them up there. And that's it. But they can only spend so much they've actually got a seller plan now because they're in danger of breaking the rules. So you don't do that. But I want to just move on, guys. Tom.
Yeah.
Ange. Oh, you in or out? And is he safe?
I'm in the camp of I don't think it actually matters, if I'm honest with you, because
splinters, Tom, splinters.
I just don't see who we bring in at this moment in time that's going to make any difference to the situation that we are in. What manager in their right mind will come into this knowing that the owners won't back them, knowing that nothing's improving in any way, shape, or form? Like, you'd have to be an absolute idiot to come and take this job, or we'd have to absolutely pay through the nose for them. And I just don't see us doing that. Like, even if a new manager came in tomorrow, we've still got not enough players. Are they then going to buy the players that managers? Are they more likely to buy players for a new manager who they don't know if is actually going to be a success in any way, shape, or form than they are for Ange, who they also don't know if he's going to be a success with the way that we're playing and stuff at the moment? I don't think Ange in, Ange out will make any difference to where we are at this present moment in time until we have players come in and until we get our players that are injured back. Then you can have a reasonable conversation if the form doesn't improve as to whether or not Ange should stay or Ange should go. My biggest worry with Ange staying or going is just I don't see who we get in. I really don't. Who is that, like, of the managers that aren't in a job at the moment, who, like, people say Xavi, but Xavi's only managed Barcelona and wasn't exactly a raging success there. Like, he did well.
Thomas Frank gets mentioned. Areola gets mentioned.
Yeah, but is the right? Areola will not leave Bournemouth at this present moment in time, and also there is absolutely no guarantee that getting Areola in fixes anything in this short-term moment. In fact, actually, Areola, when he first started at Bournemouth, wasn't that far off being spoke about him getting sacked because they weren't improving. They weren't doing any better than what they were doing under, I think it was Gary O'Neill, wasn't it, who was there beforehand. Like, his first half of the first season was awful for Bournemouth. They were talking about them getting relegated as well. So he's not going to have an instant success on where we are now. So bringing him in now, okay, that's for the future, but does that solve the problem right now? No. Thomas Frank would probably solve us a problem right now, potentially not a bad one for the future, but to get him out of Brentford's going to cost a pretty penny. So they would have to spend 12 million to sack Ange, and then
Allegri, Terzin, the ex-Dortmund manager.
Allegri again. Allegri, you might as well have kept Conte. Like, in fact, Conte was better. Like, so what was the point of that? And Allegri couldn't be any more opposite to what Ange is. So again, you're asking the players to then completely change the way that they've been playing, which is not what you want to be doing in this situation. So I completely understand anyone who wants Ange out. I completely understand it. I completely understand their rationale. We're not playing well.
I do.
We've lost a lot of games, and if I looked at my phone later tonight and saw that he was sacked, I would not be surprised in any way, shape, or form. I wouldn't even be upset. I'd feel sorry for him because I don't think he's been backed. We say he's spent more money
He's
than
been dealt a bad hand, hasn't he?
he's been dealt a very bad hand, and the fact that we're 26, coming up 27 days into this transfer window without getting him any help when we desperately needed it, it's just absolutely ludicrous. To be honest with you, so you could sack him tonight, and then put Ryan Mason in place, and absolutely nothing will change.
Yeah, Jose, do you believe, are you aligned with Tom in the fact that, like, if we were to parachute a manager in, he's only going to inherit the injury problems, the same problems we've got, lack of squad depth? So what's the point of sacking Ange? Are you Anging or out?
I'm Anging.
Okay.
And I have been, and I will be, whilst he's our manager. Everybody else that's managed Tottenham that I felt were poor managers or made us play poor football, and that I've still supported them. I've supported every manager whilst they're at the club. I support everybody, and Ange is no different for me. I support him until and if he's no longer our manager.
Yeah, go on.
What do I say about the what do I say about bringing other managers in or whatever? It's it's as clear as fucking rain that falls down. Not clear as mud, but clear as rain. It doesn't matter who manages Tottenham Hotspur. We are a rinse and repeat. We'll do the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm not one of these that's going to bash the board over the head, but the facts are in front of us, and they have been in front of us for 24 years. These people do not give a flying wasp in a whirlwind about the football at this club. They haven't done from day one. And like I said before to people on other shows, when they came in, we had the turmoil with Irving Scholar. Then we had the turmoil with Alan Sugar. And then once Enoch came along to buy out Tottenham, they turned around and said what they did on the day that they bought Tottenham. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. They said they were buying Tottenham to make money. It was an investment to make money. But because we were all up in arms because of the Sugar years and the problems that we had with Sugar, we all dismissed what was being said at the time. And they've come in. Listen, you can bring another manager in. We've already seen it. You've bought in. Who do you need to bring in now? You bought Conte. You bought Mourinho. You know, you've tried it that way. You didn't back them. Who do you need to bring in? Who do you need to bring in that you're going to fully back? Because you don't back any of them. So who are you going to bring in? Who's won a World Cup? Whoever's won a World Cup, you can bring them in, and they still ain't getting backed. So, you know, at the end of the day, the club is showing it. We're on our knees. We have been. We've been on our knees before. Don't get me wrong, lads. We've been on our knees before. But for footballing terms, at the moment, we've been on our knees for the whole world to see for the last 3 months. And now we're in the transfer window. We haven't moved and bought anyone. It just says it absolutely all. So, to me, really, I could manage Tottenham Hotspur. And do you know what? Within 18 months, the fans will want me out. The board are still going to remain. They won't back me. They won't back anything I do. And in 18 months' time, I'll be out of a job again at Tottenham. And the people would start that process all over again. You know, it's just madness, absolute madness. Things have got to change fundamentally within at the top have to change fundamentally, i.e. in the sense that if they're going to stay, then you need to have a board that will put football at the heart of it again. We have a board that don't have football at the heart of it.
Tom, if you're Daniel Levy, even after today's result, do you dare sack Ange? I mean, if you sack him, right, you've got to put your coaches in charge. Either you put Matty Wells and Ryan Maysteel, or you go with Nick Montgomery and Serge Romendo. But other than that, if you sack Ange, then you heard the songs at the stadium today.
I mean,
Levy just brings a lot more pressure on himself as he sacks Ange. My personal opinion, I think he's too cunning to do it. I think he'll play it out to the summer, because if you sack Ange in the summer, there's no one to protest, because we're going through the transfer window and there's nothing no one can protest about.
But I mean, waiting to the summer is probably the sensible thing to do, right? Because you can reasonably say we gave it a go, we weren't happy with how the season went, so therefore we're now looking to try. If you sack him mid-season without buying him any players that everyone knows we need, then you just look yourself like a fool. Like, the one probably like thing that's, you know, I'm liking at the moment is that Levy is clearly like squirming. He doesn't know what to do in this present moment in time. He's between a rock and it, because if he sacks him, then it's just like he's done every other time, and everyone will beat him with a stick, saying, "Yeah, same old, 18 months, back around the same cycle all over again." Doesn't buy any players, you know, then same thing. I don't know. But at the same time, I actually think Levy is that much of an egotistical person that he probably doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sitting there going, "I don't understand why they're all moaning. Like, why are all these fans moaning? Like, we've got this great stadium, this training ground.
What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them?
Here, you know, we've got the boxing here. Why are they all moaning? I'm doing a good job. Like, such a good job. I'm getting paid $3 million a year to do it. Like, that's literally what I actually think is probably going through his head." But the thing is, it's not just Levy. There is a board of them there that are all culpable and responsible for this. He's just
only about 3 or 4 on the board. The rest are non-executive. You got Donna Cullen, Collicott, or Collicott, or whatever his name is. I think it's only 3 or 4.
But like, they don't get the slack. He does, and it's not just him making the decisions, right? So, but end of the day, he's the chairman. He owns 29% of the club, so he can do stuff, and he just won't.
Yeah, I agree.
I would love for us to get a seller, to get a buyer. I don't see it happening.
No.
Because I don't think he actually wants to sell.
No. And even if they were to sell Enoch, they're going to keep a large chunk of shares anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sugar did. They're going to. Jose, let's get round to Anita's question. I'm sure she's getting impatient. In all honesty, do you think we'll find our way and rise up the table with 16 games left?
Anita, there's 15 games left now, because we played 23 after today, so there are 15 games left, Nita. And Nita, you are a die-hard Tottenham supporter. You're older than me, Nita. You supported the club longer than me. And Nita, I know that we're getting older, but our eyes don't deceive us, and I don't think they're deceiving you, Nita. What I'd turn this around to you, Nita, and say, what do you think, Nita? Because for me, you know, I find it hard that even with our players coming back, we'd have to pick up the pace, we'd have to pick up form, we'd have to have no more injuries going forward. And I think where we are now, I find it hard for us to finish in the top 10. So,
to be honest, I'm at a point where I don't actually care where we finish in the league now, as long as it's not in the relegation zone.
Exactly that.
And I just finish. We're not finishing top half. That's going to take a real good run of wins to get us top half. Perfectly possible with how the league is at the moment, but not for us, I don't think. So as long as you know we're comfortably not going to get relegated, I don't want this last day anything like that. As long as you know we know within the next 3-4 games, if we win the next 3 games, then I'll be pretty confident that we're not getting relegated, and then we can just concentrate on the cups and stuff like that. So
but the thing is, though, Tom, is that you can't park league and the cups because every game comes thick and fast. And the way that we're playing at the moment, and the squad that we have at the moment, let's be honest, we ain't getting past Liverpool and we ain't getting past Villa. Simple. It's not hard. You can see that. Now, if that then happens, that's 2 cups you've been taken out of. Are we saying that we're going to get everybody back, fit, firing, and ready for the last 16 in the Europa League? Because if we have to play if we don't qualify in the top 8 of the Europa League, it means that we won't get a month off. Because if you qualify, you get 1 month. You get 4-week break from the Europa League till the next round, right? If you don't qualify in the top 8, it means you're adding a further 2 fixtures within that period, and that will be the 2 fixtures will probably be just after the Arsenal game. After the Aston Villa game, if we don't qualify for the last day. By then, in 4 weeks' time, we could be out of all 3 cups.
Yeah, and if we are out of all 3 cups within the next, month, then I think you probably reasonably say sack. To go back to that talk, but look, I'm trying. It comes back to the point now of like the Elfsberg game. Do we actually put a strong team out, make sure we win it, just so we don't have those 2 extra games? Like, are we better tiring the players out for 1 extra game now, so we don't have to play 2 extra games later on? I mean, what I would be tempted to do.
I think Ange will go with because we don't know. We don't know if everyone was fit, we'd be saying, well, why aren't you playing him instead of him? But we don't know. We don't know what knocks or how bad these knocks are, whether players are just feeling a tweak here and tweak there and being rested or whatever. We just don't know because we're in such a shit situation, really, that like it's a hard call. It's like team selection day is a hard call. Subs are a hard call. We don't know, do we? Or we got his hands pleading for help and wanted reinforcements, which he's every right to ask for. I mean, he hasn't been helped at all.
No. Been given a goalkeeper, and don't get me wrong, I think Kingsley is good, and I think Kingsley will be one for the future. But has Kingsley really moved a needle that Brandon Austin wouldn't have been able to fill? Like, do you think in the games that Kingsley has played?
Yeah, because the only reason I'd say that yes is because he can kick, he can sweep a keep, whereas Austin can't.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I mean for the long term, Kingsley, 100%. But like, I don't see anything that Kingsley is bringing in this present moment that Brandon Austin wouldn't have been able to reasonably have done himself. Like, so my point is, of all the positions that we probably needed to have got a player in on the 6th or whatever it was of January, goalkeeper probably wasn't.
No, left back was the most important position as far as I'm concerned.
So, sorry, Chris Peters just put a comment down here. Chris, he said that Ange is too much of a yes man. Chris, in life, right, and in any, you may not agree with your employers, right, but that stays behind closed doors. But outwardly,
I don't think it's a question of Ange being a yes man.
Outwardly, sorry, can I finish that? Outwardly, though, in any profession, if you disagree with your paymasters, you do that in the back, so not in front of the public, but in front of the public, so united front, and you don't say anything about your employers. No manager does, because if you do, then you are certainly going to be out of a job.
And there's like,
you bring your company into disrepute, you're out of a job, and that's in any walk of life, mate. So
there's pride with managers. I mean, like, he doesn't need the money. He's on 5 million a year. If they sacked him, all right, 10 mil, all right, cheaper than getting rid of Conte and probably Mourinho and all that. He doesn't need the money. It is a pride thing with him. I believe he's trying as best he can with limited resources now. We don't obviously know. I will critique his team selections and his substitutions, as we all do, right? We'll all do that. But we don't really know the situation truly with fitness and all that. I mean, the Maddison thing today is just a complete enigma. Nothing said or nothing mentioned about it.
Well, they did actually post. I did check that. They did post on it, and it was literally word for word, he's feeling a bit sore.
Right, but the thing, but there are different grades of soreness now. What I will say is, Ange has done.
There's
really
different
well.
types of number 6, number 8, and number 10, Jose, as well.
Ange has done really well because he's done the job with his his left wrist tied to his right ankle from the back and blindfold. So he's done well.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, like in terms of Ange, I'm not like Stonewall Ange in, and I'm not Stonewall Ange out. I'm Stonewall. I don't see what sacking him in this present moment does, because
I'm Ange in. I wanted to.
If you bring another manager in, it's not going to change anything in this situation.
I thought Ange did very well last season. He started the season without Harry Kane, arguably the best striker. Then VDV got injured. Maddison got done by Matty Cash. Bentancur done by Matty Cash. Maddison did his ankle. Lose 3 key players in the first start. Carry on. Basuma had 3 suspensions. Romero had 1 suspension. The players went out on international duty. With all that in his first season, trying to impose his footballing philosophy on the squad, right? He finished 5th. I thought, you've done well. What you had to put up the adversity, you've done well. But this season, the adversity has been worse. I've never known, and someone tell me, and I've been following this club for I'm 70 years of age. I watched this club for 65 years ago, right? I've never known a worse injury list ever. Mind you, squads were smaller back in the day. You couldn't have the amount of injuries we've got now, right? And I've got sympathy for Ange. I don't agree with everything he's done in certain games with substitutions and team selections, but he has his reasons. He's not fully explained those reasons. Perhaps we'd be a bit more sympathetic if he had, right? And I just think like he's got dealt a bad hand. We need reinforcements. The recruitment team have had since the summer, when we didn't do enough business anyway in the summer, to add to this squad with a bit more experience. They've got round to here. We're in like the last week of the transfer window. We brought a goalkeeper in. Where's the help? Where's the recruits? You know, I mean, like, so I do sympathise with him, but also at times Ange hasn't exactly helped himself with what he said, like all managers do. They end up contradicting themselves in press conferences and shit like that, which most press conferences, like, they're just bollocks. I mean, like, you get such stupid questions asked the manager. All I want to know is who's injured, who's fit to play, basically.
The problem with the press conferences is he's doing 3 a week. He's doing 3 a week. What happens in a week? Not much. It's always going to be asking the same questions. So I'm not surprised he gets fed up with the same questions being asked every single time. And this is what I said, like in other countries, you get your sporting director will come and do a press conference. But in this country, no, they all get to hide behind the
medical team comes out and speaks and stuff like that. You get different parts of the club that come out. Managers don't have to do press conferences like they do in the Premier League. In the Premier League, it's expected that you come and do them.
Yeah. It's just bizarre. So he's in front of the media being asked the same blooming questions week after week.
He's being asked questions about medical issues where the medical team are better off to answer that. Yeah. He's then being asked issues about, I don't know, let's say that he's been asked about transfers. Well, that comes down to finances and stuff like that. So your director of football should come out and front that. You know, he's being asked, and he's not the only one. All the managers, they all get asked this from the Premiership. They all get asked a similar set of questions. But they all have a similar set of people that have that skill set to answer them questions because it's their area of expertise. You know, if you're asking them a footballing question, then by all means, I expect Ange to answer. But when you start asking all these other questions that are not within his remit, then, you know, it makes a mockery of it all. And you should get the right people out to ask them questions. But if the club did a bit more and were a bit more proactive, you know, and held and let us know things like this is the journey that we're going on. This is the milestones we want to hit. This is what we want to do in the short term and the medium term and the long term. If they did stuff like that, then no one would beat on Ange because somebody else would be taking the flak for that because they're the ones that dictate that. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not going to turn. I never have done in my life supporting Tottenham Hotspur, and I'm not about to start now. So, you know, until and as and when the people upstairs decide on what they want and don't want to do, I am always going to back whoever is our manager going forward for Tottenham Hotspur.
So am I, and I'm fully Ange until the end of the season. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up, guys. I want to thank Ian from coming on, jet lagged Ian. He's just come back from far east or whatever. I want to thank Jose for coming on as a guest. Bit of a late guest, but very welcome. Always a good friend of the show. Always welcome him anytime we go out. I want to thank fellow admin Tom as well for coming on. It's been a good show considering what we've witnessed today. We're all sort of suffering a bit. I'm pretty sure we'll come through this. We'll be all right. We're not going to get relegated or nothing like that, but we may go through a bit more pain. I don't think we're going to win all 3 cup competitions. I've still got hopes in the Europa League. Yeah. I want to thank all of you in the chat for your comments. I want to thank all of you that may watch us later on playback. And if you look below, we've got the live ticker that goes through. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and leave a comment if you like the content. And also, we do have a Facebook group of nearly 14,500 members. Right, you can find the link there, and you also find us on Twitter. It's XCOM now, under that second link there. If you want to come on that, right? And I would like to add that like Friday, all our shows were regularly going out at 8 o'clock in the evening UK GMT, but in future the Friday shows will go out at 10 o'clock in the evening. And I'll host them. The reason for the late show is because like we want to involve more Canadian and American viewers, because they're 5, 6, 7 hours and it will suit their time. And after all, they do get up all hours of the, such weird hours just to watch Spurs play anyway, because games are played, in the UK time zone, obviously. So to give them some feedback as well and help, we will be doing shows on Friday. Will be at 10 o'clock in the evening, probably run till midnight. But the other Tuesday and Sunday shows will go out regularly at 8 o'clock. So with that, I want to thank you all again. Thank you for your support. We're very close to 1K subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you again on Tuesday. And with that, I'll see you guys in the back room if you're hanging about for a bit. And I'll play you out with this.